welcome back to my channel. After a long time of talking about tarot cards and also attachment style psychology, we're finally coming back to astrology. We're going to be talking about Shani's Drishti, which is Saturn's aspect on the 10th house. Usually, Saturn is known to aspect the third house from where it's at, 10th house from where it's at, and the 7th house from where it's at. So, this is where Saturn transits. For example, right now he's been transiting Aquarius for the past 2 years, 2ish years. So Aquarius, Pisces, and Aries. So that's the third aspect. Saturn's been putting Neech Drishti on Aries. It's called Neech Drishti because the aspect of Saturn is Saturn's energy going into the house it's debilitated in, or the sign it's debilitated in, which is Aries, because Aries and Saturn energy are at odds. So, depending on your individual chart, based on which house Aries is for you, that is the area that Saturn will have an impact on, would have had an impact on the past 2.5 years. So, we will be delving into what happens when Saturn looks at the different houses, but I want to focus on the 10th house solely because I have a lot of personal experience and data based on what has happened over the past 2.5 years, because Saturn has been putting Neech Drishti on Aries, and Aries is my 10th house, and 10th house is a house of career, reputation, recognition, and basically your role and contribution to society through your career. Yeah, so Saturn Drishti on the 10th house. Let's talk about some themes. Now, Saturn transits are a different thing, and Saturn Drishti is a different thing. Saturn transits obviously are more pronounced. But when Saturn is aspecting a certain house, you will notice Saturnian themes coming into the picture in life. For example, if Saturn were to transit my 10th house, it's a different story. And if Saturn's looking at the 10th house, it's a different story. So let's talk about what happens when Saturn comes into association with the 10th house, and especially when it's 10th house Aries. Also, I'm going to touch upon what happens in each of the signs, like how Saturn energy functions in different signs as well as the houses. So this particular combination is focusing on Aries as well as the 10th house, right? So the 10th house is the house of your career journey, your career path. It is the house of your recognition and responsibility to society and reputation. Yeah. So what will Saturn energy do? You will notice that Saturn will make you face things that you're afraid of a lot. So if you're afraid of failure, get ready to go through failure. If you're afraid of humiliation, you're afraid of being put down in front of other people, or you're afraid of not making a name for yourself, or not being able to get ahead, Saturn will put these things right in front of you. And why is that? When Saturn is a planet known to put us closer to our purpose in our life and our journey and our duty towards society, why does Saturn sabotage it? Now, everything is not just karma. It's not like, oh, you sabotage someone's career in your previous lifetime, that's why your career is being sabotaged in some way. That's not how Saturn works. In reality, everything that Saturn does, it might feel like sabotage. It might feel like, okay, Saturn is making me go through nonsense in this area. But actually, Saturn is just making you face your fears, so that when your fears are faced, you have the courage and the ability to get and gain the opposite of the worst case scenario, right? Saturn energy is always like, I will give you the most and the best, but not before I put you through the worst. So it's like you will earn the pinnacle as long as you go through the pitfall. Yeah, so that is more of what Saturn does. Every time you're done with Saturn's transit or Saturn's influence on any sign or house, you will notice that first all areas connected to that house and that sign will be like in jeopardy. It'll be going through it. It'll be like all your desires in those areas will be denied or delayed, and even if you get them, they don't feel good. They're not what you wanted. So Saturn's not like a wish granter. Saturn gives you more than what you wish for, but after you go through not having your dreams come true, and then feeling the pain and the pang of that, and having the doubt and the despair around that, and then Saturn's like, okay, if you can hold your own, if you can manage yourself, if you can have a stable head on your shoulders, and develop your character in such a way where you are worthy of everything you asked for after going through this time period, then Saturn showers you with 10x more than what you dreamed and wished for. So that is Saturn energy. He's a very hidden benefactor. He is considered a malefic planet, but actually Saturn wants your highest growth. And the way Saturn does it is through like disciplining you and like putting you through it. Yeah. So what happens when Saturn transits the 10th house? There's a direct hit to your reputation. You do not have control of your image. You have to face your worst fears. You have to face, like, if you're not that inclined on making a name for yourself and stuff like that, Saturn's not gonna actually put you through, like making a bad name. Or but if you're really tied to like your ego image, how you are received by other people, how you come off in the world, and how much respect you want, that ego that's associated to what we want to come off as in the world around us, the respect that we crave, or the recognition or reputation we want, and importance that we want, all those needs from the external world and our career world connected to ego, where it's like validating our ego specifically, Saturn will break and shatter. Like, if you are nobody, and if you're not even important in this world, how are you going to make yourself useful? Yeah, Saturn brings that Seva Bhava. He'll batter you down to the point where you're so full on like failure and humiliation sometimes, where you're like, you know what else can I do? Like, I mean, I just have to keep going forward. I need to keep doing the best I can do. I need to keep like working towards it. It's like to the point where you're desensitized to all those negative emotions, and then that's when you're so ready to walk the path of success, because you no longer are in a place where even the smallest disturbance could pull down your determination, and your reason for doing things becomes very refined, right? Like, you're no longer seeking ornaments for your ego. You're actually putting in the work for the work's sake, and Saturn is all about that. He's all about, do your work, don't expect gifts from it, don't expect the fruit of it, just do what you're supposed to do for society. Give up yourself. Everything you do should be for the masses, for people, for society, for communities, and not just for yourself. So Saturn will break those ego needs connected to your reputation, connected to your career. And you think that it's very, like, for people who have a lot of those needs for reputation, validation, those things get shattered, because you will go through so much pain in those areas where it's like, oh my gosh, like, this feels so bad. And it just, like, Saturn brings around a lot of growth through unwanted feelings and unwanted, like, like, it's not easy to go through humiliation, to go through rejection in your career, to like maybe lose your job, lose your sense of stability, security, lose your sense of like you-ness, and feel like, okay, I'm doing something, I'm contributing. Saturn will just shatter your sense of self that comes from your career. Okay, and he has a reason for doing this. Again, it's to make sure that what you do doesn't come for reasons connected to anything else other than just service, just seva, and just breaking that illusion that everything in life happens for us, me, I. Saturn loves shattering egos. Like, Saturn loves being like, you're nothing, you're nobody, and you know what, here's proof of it. Okay, so like, but you're still alive, so make yourself useful, right? So what happens when Saturn does that is, uh, there is automatically, over time, there is a sense of surrender to time itself. Being patient and things panning out over time after struggle. There is a sense of learning. There is a desire to contribute and give more than there is to receive. And when we give, naturally, we receive 10 times more. So these are Saturn's hidden blessings, right? And we become more service oriented. We give more of ourselves, and we don't think about profit and loss. I mean, not in a business sense, but we don't think about like, what have I got to gain from this before, getting our hands dirty to like doing the work and contributing, and facing our worst fears. There's always nothing wrong that will come from that, because it's always only upwards from whichever rock bottom, right? Like, the only way you can go from any rock bottom is up. And now you have all the wisdom of like, the rock bottom to take with you, right? So every place has something to teach you. Even the worst phases in your life have something to teach you, and Saturn's all about teaching you lessons. I know sometimes you're just like, I'm done learning, but it's true. When Saturn has something to do with the 10th house, expect things not going your way. your big dreams and visions for yourself being shattered a little bit, your dream job being snatched away from you, or your reputation being tarnished, or feeling like you're not who you are meant to be or want to be, or just exclusion in the workplaces, just apakirti, they say sometimes. Apakirti is the wrong kind of fame or wrong kind of recognition, where people know you for something not bad necessarily, but like oh, they're not, they can't be trusted with this project, or you know flaky. Like, these things happen so that your sense of self gets shattered, sense of self from career gets shattered, and Saturn loves doing this. So what you do when this happens is look for where you can build your sense of self that's independent from what you contribute to society, because your contribution should come from, I have all this abundance, I have all this to give, and I'm going to give because that's what I've come here for. This is my duty. I'm going to give, I'm going to serve. It should not come from, oh, I want to do this for myself, make money, I want to have all this uh, satisfaction of being somebody. And you see those career driven satisfaction notions are very temporary and fleeting. There's always more that the human mind wants, right? Even if you reach the top, it's still like your mind is still unsettled. There's something or the other keeping you from that true authentic inner connection and true belonging to people as well, right? So this whole thing is all about, I'll take away your sense of pride connected to what you do and how you function in the world and who you are. Where are you going to find your sense of self from? Saturn forces you to look inwards, forces you to think about what your soul is learning, forces you to think of yourself as a being that's separate from worldly occurrences and hierarchies in the world. And um, yeah, like, again, career related stuff, like what you do, the people around you. So when that happens, something shifts, like your whole trajectory of what life means and what life is and how it's going to open into multiple avenues in different areas of life completely shifts, right? There is a sense of you-ness that gets uncovered, that's not connected to anything except just that presence with yourself. Just, I mean, this is an extreme example, okay? Imagine, like, everywhere you go, you don't belong anywhere, everyone's just like, like, you have a bad reputation, like outcasted from society, whatever, and you've lost your job, and like there's everything going wrong in your career, you lose your credibility, nobody respects you. Where do you turn to feel like, I'm still valid, I'm still a human being, I still have so much to give, I'm still like me, and that's worth something? I mean, Saturn's not going to push people to the point of that where it's like there's nothing left to live for, unless the human mind is in a lower energy, lower vibrational state and can't take that, or if it's someone's destiny to go through such lows. But um what do you do? Where do you turn? You look inward and you look for other ways of filling that void. And Saturn doesn't like you filling that void with like drugs or running away from yourself. It's like, no, face it, face this failure. What is it teaching you? What is it showing you? What part of yourself made this happen? What part of yourself is getting affected when this happens? How temporary or permanent is that part of yourself? What is hurting? So in knowing that, there's this like inner strength that gets developed, and there's wisdom that gets fruitioned in the psyche, in the being. And this wisdom often it comes in very handy. Saturnian wisdom comes in handy because you can always impart it to people who need it, and that's also a form of service, seva, right? So I think that's pretty much it. I spoke about what happens, what you can expect. So know that when Saturn is associated with the 10th house, these are themes. This can happen. And drishtis last for 2 years, 2.5 years. So it's a long learning period. And for me, Saturn drishti on the 10th house was predominantly in a Vadtara. When I've talked about this in previous videos, Saturn being in a bad nakshatra, looking at the 10th house, it was difficult because it was like, okay, no. I mean, for me, what happened was every idea I had for my career, the speed at which I wanted to grow, or like just wasn't happening. And there were many pockets of like humiliation in like places, or like, just like discard or just rejection. Things that I would want to do would just be like, no, like that's not happening. And I would put in a lot of work to make some projects fruition, and they would come out like, amateur and like not, just things like that. Like everything I thought I would be doing in the past 2 years, like I would say 20% of that was possible, and it was just like slow, frustrating growth. But at the same time, there's nothing you can do to speed it up. And it was like I need to deal with a lot of mental, emotional, and other things connected to Sade Sati as well, in order to come to terms with the fact that, okay, I just need to accept that this is what it's going to be like, or just learn what it's trying to teach me. And I realized that it's not about aiming for the stars when the stars are not in your favor. It's about strengthening your roots during those times when time is not in the favor of your dreams, and especially career wise. It's about becoming internally stronger, having that inner presence be cultivated even more. And when that happens, more than your dreams and more than the things that you want for yourself will be given to you. You'll be pushed in the direction of what you came here to do, and you become much much more rooted in your purpose and your journey. Things start unfolding, right? Saturn will move out of Aquarius in March, April time, right? It'll go into Meen Rashi, and we'll start putting Drishti on Taurus or Vrishabha Rashi, right? So once he moves into Pisces, the third aspect will be Taurus, and the seventh aspect will be Virgo, and so Kanya Rashi is also impacted, and the 10th aspect will be Sagittarius. Yeah. So yeah, this is what you have to keep in mind. I think it's great to know this, because it's like, hey, it's time. Time is temporary, and what this time is trying to teach you, honor it and take those lessons, and then know that seeds are being sown for um, the future, in the right way, in a way that you might not accept or understand right now. But just know, Saturn's theme is like, it's not denied, it's never denied. Saturn never denies you what you want. It's just delayed, and it's delayed to the point of frustration. So it's like, you actually feel when Saturn gives you what you want finally, you're like, about time, like I worked so hard for this, I went through so much. Saturn's never just gonna like Rahu give it to you so you can be like, oh, that was easy, that's okay, of course, I have this now, great. And then for a while you're happy, and then you're like, okay, but I want the next thing. No, when Saturn gives you what you want, you will honor that so much, because it took you so much time, effort, energy, learning lessons, karmic release, all of that, to finally get the fruits of going through a Saturnian period. So know that and have faith. And yeah, that's it. We'll do aspects of Saturn and other planets and all the other houses over time. But thank you so much for watching this video. I always love making astrology content because it's so close to my heart, and there's just so much of it in my head, and I'm just like, I want to share it. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. That's it for today. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the post notification so we can stay connected. I will see you next time. Bye.